Hey folks, this is your old friend Double T here, and I'm here to tell you about what I consider to be one of the best kept secrets in the Pioneer Valley, and that is Filio's Restaurant. Filio is a small, unique, fine dining restaurant serving the finest, freshest cooked, authentic Italian food, just like Mama and Nonna used to make themselves. Chef Roberto's hands on approach and over 50 years of experience can be seen in every soup, appetizer, and entree. Located at 1366 Main Street in Palmer, reservations are strongly suggested. 413 283 6140 is the phone number to a culinary treat beyond your wildest dreams. From the beef braciole, or perhaps the shrimp grand marnier, maybe chicken francaise, veal piccata, whatever Chef Roberto puts on that menu, I assure you, will be a treat. They will work around dietary restrictions, and if they have the ingredients in the house, special orders do not upset them. Chef Roberto will do whatever he can for you. Remember, located in the heart of downtown Palmer at 1366 Main Street, reservations are suggested. 413 283 6140. Filio's is the place that you want to be. Take it from Double T. Ciao.
She gets hungry for dinner at 8. She loves the theater and never comes late. She never bothers with people she hates. That's why the lady is a tramp.
Hello, everybody. This is your old pal Double T, welcoming you into the Double T Podcast Network. Wishing you a happy day. Folks, I tell you, political shows are tough because you end up alienating half of your audience no matter what you do. But one thing that I promised a few years ago when I started this was I would always be honest with my opinions and try to back them up as much as I can. 3 months ago, the thought of Kamala Harris being at the top of the ticket was virtually delusional. And how did we get here? How did we get where we are? It was an old Chicago style backroom squeeze play. It was a coup. Make no mistake about it. Could have been blackmail, could have been a coup, but the machine. And when I say the machine, I'm talking about the Obamas, the Clintons, Upchuck, and Nancy the Witch. They got to Biden, and it had to be one of two things, okay? They either dropped a book down in front of him and said, listen, if you don't step away from this, we are going to put so much information out there on your son, your brother, yourself, your wife. Your whole family's going to go to jail if you don't do this. Or what I think they did is they threatened him with the 25th Amendment, and that would have completely tarnished his legacy. And that is one of the things that Biden was most concerned about, was his legacy. But let's break down the Harris Waltz ticket, and let's talk about some of the reasons why I'm concerned about what we're about to see in the next 3 months. Now, don't forget, we're 90 days away. Joe has to make it. I mean, I know they're just babysitting him in the West Wing. It's ice cream and applesauce for the next, 4 months, and then he gets to say goodbye. And it's sad. Never been a Biden guy, like I said, but it's sad the way it unceremoniously has come to an end for him. Mental disabilities, catastrophic to families. But let's talk about Kamala for just a little bit. In public, Harris championed racial equality and sharply contrasted with her progressive record on criminal justice issues. She was against early release for nonviolent offenders, most of which she put away when she was a prosecutor. She was against early release for nonviolent first-time offenders, despite her commitment to reform. She gave, first-time dealers, these crazy sentences, and there's a lot of them that are still there, and she never cared. And this just demonstrates an extreme disconnect between her words and her actions. Currently, she is under investigation from a nonprofit called America for 7 instances while she was California Attorney General that she obstructed federal immigration policies. She supported sanctuary city ordinances and opposed California's participation in the Secure Communities Act, which would have allowed ICE to detain, arrest, and deport illegals with criminal records. Additionally, America First is investigating if Harris concealed misconduct by lawyers that were working under her in the district attorney's office. I don't think she ever took the role of vice president very seriously. From inauguration day to now, 92%, think about this, 92% of her staff has turned over. Now, what kind of a boss does that tell you she is? It tells you that she's a real pain in the backside. It's been reported that she doesn't read reports. She doesn't do the things in her job that she is supposed to do. Biden tapped her to be the border czar in 2020, and she has yet to visit the border, which is the biggest problem we have in our country proper. And I'll never forget the interview where the interviewee said, "Well, you're the border czar and you've never been to the border." And she says, "Well, I haven't been to Europe either." Good answer. The Washington Post called her a Truman Democrat. But, I disagree with the Wall Street Journal. Maybe she is a Truman Democrat. But this is not the 1950s anymore, and the world stage is much more complex than it was in 1950 with Russia, China, Iran, North Korea, all as players on the world stage, besides allies that are on the world stage. Her track record is one of divisive politics, and she has a penchant for military escalation if it's in America's interest. I'm just telling you is talk. these are sensitive times, and we need a strong leader with diplomatic skills that can negotiate with these countries and de-escalate things rather than escalate them further. She pledged absolute infinite help to Ukraine for a war that they cannot possibly win. I don't mind helping out anybody as long as everybody's helping out everybody. Okay? We have filtered more money to Ukraine, which is basically a corrupt country. Okay? When we have domestic problems at home with homeless veterans and homeless people and lack of food. People can't afford food. People can't afford gas. People can't afford to heat or air condition their houses or pay their rents. And, we're funneling money to Ukraine like, we have a never ending source of money. Our budget is $3 trillion. How do you ever expect to pay that off? Okay. Now, let me get to that at the end. Let's talk for a couple minutes about Kamala's running mate, Governor Tim Walz of Minnesota. I don't have much to say about Tim Walz because he called J.D. Vance creepy, and this guy to me just like wears a creep coat. Governor of Minnesota did absolutely nothing during the summer, I think it was 2020, that Antifa and Black Lives Matters rioted, looted, and burned down several city buildings across Minnesota, as well as other states in the country. But Minneapolis, Minnesota, is the state that they kind of the city that they got in Governor Walz's state, and he did nothing about it. He lied about being in combat. He didn't lie about his military service. He spent 25 or 30 years in the National Guard. However, when his unit was deploying to Iraq, he retired right as they were deploying, which I kind of thought was a sissy move. Let's put it that way. But him holding that gun, saying that, this is the gun I carried in combat, that's, what do they call that? Stolen valor. He also signed legislation in his state permitting children to have gender reassignment surgery. I'm totally against that. And I would venture to say that more than half this audience is against that. He also signed into law, this is my favorite one. He signed into law to provide free menstrual supplies in school lavatories from grades 4 to 12 in ladies' rooms as well as men's rooms. You heard me correctly. He is supplying tampons to men's rooms, which is why they gave him the name Tampon Tim. That was my favorite story of the whole week, believe it or not. Together, Harris and Walz are the most progressive president and vice president we have ever seen. Don't believe the polls. All right? Polls are a little tighter than they were when Biden was at the top of the ticket. Harris has no record to run on. She hasn't done a damn thing. She hasn't done a damn thing except over prosecute when she was a prosecutor. She kept them in jail when she was attorney general. She's done absolutely nothing as vice president. And I question their judgment. I just absolutely question their judgment. It comes down to what you are looking to have to happen in this country. What are you looking for? Okay? You could say whatever you want about Trump and JD Vance. And I can't wait to see each one of those sets of people. I really can't, because first of all, have you noticed Kamala in the 17 days that she's been the presumptive nominee has not done one press interview that wasn't on a teleprompter? That she comes, she speaks, reads off a teleprompter, and leaves. She takes no questions. They don't want her to talk because you know what it sounds like when she talks. You know what it sounds like. The passage of time is relevant to time passing, and when time passes, the relevance of that time passing goes to the relevance of the passage of time. That's why they don't want her to talk. And they're going to do their best to keep her in the basement with Biden. And they're going to see real soon this weekend how well this other guy can talk. Because, he's the all-American male. He hunts, he fishes, he woodworks, he's just your Midwestern, poster boy. I'm dying to see this. I'm dying to see I'm just dying to see a debate between him and JD Vance. I mean, for Waltz it'll be like taking a knife to a gunfight. Vance with that Yale education will pummel him. But folks, it's an important election, because if you've noticed the direction that our country has gone in, okay, hasn't been a good one over the past 4 years. Something interesting that I thought that Trump did was he did a live stream with a kid named Aiden Ross. Now, Aiden Ross is really, really big on Twitch. I mean, the kid's 24 years old and he's worth $40 million. I mean, he's friends with Elon Musk. This kid was really impressed me. I mean, maybe a lot of you guys know who this was the first time I've ever seen him. And he got through, I want to say it might have been through Barron, convinced Trump to do an interview with him. And Trump said to the kid in the interview, he goes, yeah, he says, I honestly, apologies, I had never heard of you, he says. And Barron leaned over to me and said, Dad, you got to go on. He's big. He's big. He says, so I had to listen to the boss. But it was a this 24-year-old kid hung in there with Trump. And I was really, really amazed. He gave Trump a Rolex. And he also gave him a cyber car that Tesla produced. A cyber truck, I'm sorry, that Trump was a big fan of, and this kid knew it, so he got Elon to give him one, or we bought one from Elon, and he had Trump's picture with his hand up in the air, all lacquered nice on the side of the car. And it's a great interview, and it's going to get millions and millions and millions of hits, and which is a good thing because it gets the Republican message to a younger audience, which is what we need. We need new blood. We need, the first time voters, the kids that are 18 to 24 who have never voted before. That's what we need. We need new leadership. We need new blood. And there was an announcement made yesterday that Trump is going to do something live on Monday with Elon Musk. And I'm going to tell you something. That one might break the internet. That looks like it's going to be huge. And I'm dying to find out what these two are up to. Say what you will about Elon Musk, but I think Trump is going to take maybe the same approach that Musk did. Now, do you know when Musk bought Twitter, he walked into Twitter and he was looking around and he was wondering what all these people are doing here. Like, what do all these people do here? So he started asking people. He says, "What do you do here?" I research videos, and you're no longer needed. And he basically went through the whole company and fired 80% of the workforce. Now think about that for a second. A company that's that big, and you fire 80% of the workforce. It kind of fits into my 80-20 rule anyway, because I've always said 20% of the people do 80% of the work anyway. But it's an internet company. What do you need all these thousands and thousands of people for? Musk is a visionary. Now Musk is taking X and he's moving it out of California. My guess is he's probably going to move it down to Texas because that's where he's got, I think, everything else. I know Tesla's down in Texas. I'm wondering if he's going to bring X down there. But I'm really curious as to what him and Trump are cooking up, because that ought to be interesting. I'm really looking forward to hearing that announcement Monday night. I can tell you it's a battle of good against evil. I can tell you it's a battle of, conservatism versus fascism or autocracy. I can tell you anything in the world. To me, this is a battle of ideas. And the ideas are going to be how this country is directed for the next several years. And I said it in the last podcast. It's how our children's children's children are going to inherit this world. And if we don't, we're going to be just like the fall of the Roman Empire. We need to sit down with our counterparts across party lines. We need to sit down and figure how to work this stuff out. And there are plenty of talented Democrats and Republicans, young ones, that should be able to get this stuff done. One of the biggest reasons that they don't want Donald Trump is because they're afraid of him, because he's going to shake their money tree. Because my guess is Trump, what I would do if I was Trump and if I won that election, I would go into the White House. I would pick all my department heads, my cabinet and my department heads, and I would tell everybody in the White House and every one of my cabinet heads Okay, guys, you got 2 weeks to go over your budget and tell me how you're going to trim 20% out of it. And they're all going to look at you and go, huh? You're going to have to tell me how you are going to live without 20%. Because I'm taking 20% out of everybody's budget. That's the first thing. The second thing is we start spending economically. We don't spend what we don't have. We stop this funneling money to Ukraine. Hey, like, I apologize, but it's every man for himself. You start making Europe and Eastern Europe start kicking in their fair share. All right? Everybody wants Ukraine in NATO. Well, get the NATO countries to start ponying up and let them start paying some of the bill. Okay? Because we have to pay for Joe's nursing home. And, applesauce and ice cream ain't cheap anymore. So you have to ask yourself, I said this the last time, just like when President Reagan said to you when he was running against Carter, you have to ask yourself, are you better off today than you were 4 years ago? How's your 401k performing now as it was 4 years ago? How's your stocks doing compared to what they were doing 4 years ago? How's your grocery bill? I got a 16-gallon tank in my car. It cost me $50 to fill it from empty. $50 to fill my gas tank. I remember my first car, it took me like $6 to fill my gas tank. It wasn't 16 gallons, but still. Dark contrast, folks. Wake up. Be Howard Beale. I'm as mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. Get out to the polls. Take a friend to the polls. Sign up for your absentee ballots if you haven't. And if you haven't, you might be out of time. But make sure you vote. I don't care who you vote for, but make sure you vote. I mean, there's some blue states that are in play right now, and I'd love to see them flip to red. And it's not because it's Donald Trump. It's the vision. It's the philosophy. I like America first. I like to see things built in America with American steel and American labor. And I like to see when these other countries do something wrong, you put a tariff on whatever they send in to sell. That's what we're supposed to do. So listen, folks. Enough of my rambling for today. Do me a favor. Make sure you vote. Most importantly, that's the big thing. And also remember, folks, tomorrow is granted to no one. So if you have a chance, and if you don't have a chance, make a chance to stop and smell the roses. It's well worth it. And if you have a chance or an opportunity to do a random act of kindness for someone, take that opportunity. For if everybody did a random act of kindness for someone, this world will be a much better place to live. So until we meet again, this is Double T saying ciao, ciao.
Memories pressed between the pages of my mind. Memories sweeping through the ages just like wine. Quiet thoughts come floating down and settle softly to the ground like golden autumn leaves around my feet. I touch them and they burst apart with sweet memories, sweet memories of holding hands and red bouquets and twilights trimmed in purple haze, laughing eyes and simple ways, quiet nights and gentle days.